a contentment. He could say, I can do everything through God that gives me strength. Yes, there were needy times, and I've seen him facing tragic situations that will bend any person. But he was a man that he knew how to have fellowship with God and put his burdens on him. A few days ago, there was a prayer meeting here in Houston, and the governor called people to come and pray. Somebody sent me that letter that he wrote. I was very much impressed. And he said in the letter of invitation, there is hope. It's in heaven. And you find it on your knees. And Brother Leon knew that there is always hope. And he knew the place was in heaven. And you can have fellowship with heaven on your knees and find every need because of that relationship. God wants to have relationship. And in this relationship with Him, all our needs are provided. Even when we walk through the valley of the shadow of death, we shall fear no evil. There would be many things that we can talk about our brother. But finally, I wanted to mention something. And that's where a great giant of a man, Elijah, was to depart this world. And then what we hear, that actually Elijah, before being taken to heaven, Elisha is following him. He was not alone. He had children of prophets. As Brother Leon, you can see there are many children of prophets. He brought them to the Lord. And he was a man of God. We miss a number of people here, like Haik Hovsepian. It was about 55 years ago that he came to the Lord, and also Brother Sarah. And I wanted to make sure that Brother Haik was going to live a careful life. And I told him, you better be very careful, because whatever you do, the Lord will show Brother Leon in vision. So he was quite right, actually. Yes. I think there was another confession. You see, the children of prophets, but there was one of them, Elisha, that wouldn't leave his teacher. And then they went out. As they were walking along and talking together, suddenly a chariot of fire and horsemen of fire appeared and separated the two of them. And Elijah went up to heaven in a whirlwind. Elisha saw this and cried out, my father, the chariots and horsemen of Israel. And Elisha saw him no more. It's quite an interesting. The man of God goes up to heaven. And Elisha cries out, my father, the horsemen of Israel. Chariots of Israel and the horsemen. And then sometime later, Elisha himself is an old man. And he is dying. And so what happens? Elisha is sick and is dying. And we read it in 2 Kings chapter 13, verse 14. Now Elisha was suffering from the illness from which he died Jehoash, king of Israel, went down to see him and wept over him. my father, he cried, the chariots and horsemen of Israel. Now Joash was not a godly man. He was actually a wicked king. But he had taken notice of Elisha, and he was sick. He went there and saw him, and he wept. The king weeps and said, my father, the chariots and horsemen of Israel. There are many different interpretations, but chariots and horsemen represented the power of the nation, the power of the empire. Of course, the power of that empire is fiery. There is no power that can match the power of God. Although man wants to rise himself up over God, but can never do it. Now the earthly power, the king himself comes and looking to Elisha, weeps and says, my father, my father. He was a father figure, and so was Brother Levon, father to many. But not only he was power, horsemen and chariots are for war, for defense, for the armed forces. Is it possible for one person to be the army of a nation? Elijah and Elisha were. And how come? I read a psalm for you. And it's Psalm 27. The Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? The Lord is the stronghold of my life. Of whom shall I be afraid? When evil men advance against me to devour my flesh, when my enemies and my foes attack me, they will stumble and fall. Though an army besiege me, my heart will not fear. The war breaks out against me. Even then will I be confident. And that was Brother Levon. For 55 years, he was on his knees praying to God. He was a man who had found peace for himself. He had peace with himself. And as such, the smile never left him. You didn't need to talk much with him. It was just enough to spend a little bit time in his presence. And now, this is possible for all of us. The invitation is for us all. An invitation that he accepted with joy. And Jesus says, come to me, all who are tired of carrying heavy loads. And I will not be surprised if there are not many of them here. Come to me, all who are tired of carrying heavy loads, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you, and learn of me, for I am gentle and lowly in spirit, and you shall have rest in your soul. For my yoke is easy, and my burden light. That is an invitation for us all to come to him in order to enjoy a fellowship with him, in order to be content in life, and in order to stand in the face of any trial, any attack, any attempt to destroy us. For he is with us, and that is him. God bless you.